Hello there, Razzle48 here, bringing you my Zefra deck profile for the November 2017 format. And some of you may be asking why it took so long, and maybe be blaming BlazBlue. It's not BlazBlue's fault. It's not. I've been doing a lot of BlazBlue cross tag stuff. It's not the fault of that. I've not been able to decide what I want to do with this darn deck. As you all know, times have been hard. Link crippled the deck. Denglong's banning, killed, the best card in the deck. It's been really hard to find adequate replacements to help me both cope with the new mechanics and to make up for the huge loss of speed and consistency that Denglong's banning did to the deck. But I think I got it in a position where I'm good to compete for now. The deck is undoubtedly going to get a lot better after the Link Vrains pack, during which we get both the Crystron Link Monster and the Metalfoes Link Monster, both of which are going to do miracles for Zefras, and we don't even know what the Zefra one is yet. There's going to be a Zefra one, we don't know what it is yet. But until then, this is probably the build I'm going to be using, or at least until the next ban list. I got back from locals this weekend. I topped, of course. I cannot remember the last time I didn't top locals. But anyway, let's dive right in. Triple Zefrath. This is nothing new. Zefrath is the only card in the deck that you want in the scale zone instead of pendulum summoning it. He can be either high scale or low scale. Everyone knows how Zefrath works. You never summon him anymore unless you're an insane person, which I hope none of you are. And yeah, you want this card in every opening hands, and if you don't get it, you search it. Next we got Triple Secrets. You pendulum summon this card more than any monster in the deck. This card lets you get to your counter traps, which is what makes you live until next turn. This is the card that allows your rank level 9 synchro plays. This card allows you to make him 7. This card's overall great. It's got big defense. It searches when it dies, so you basically get 2 searches off the summon, once when it's summoned and another when it dies. And it's a big problem for the enemy to get over. I do not recommend pendulum summoning this in the extra link zone. If at all possible, try to get this monster in your hand to put in one of the main monster zones, because this is probably one of the monsters that you're going to want to leave on your field at the end of the turn, because you're probably going to want to search 9 pillars so that you can kill him during your opponent's turn and search a Zefra War to use during that turn as well. Sorry about that. My phone storage got full and I had to delete some stuff. But anyway, next we got Triple Treasure. This is the play enabler of the deck. This is the card that lets you go into all your synchro plays, which is all of the deck's actual offensive plays. The plays that let you search, the plays that let you, do things. The entirety of Zefra's offensive strategy relies around synchros, and so you need Triple Treasure. It's just a necessity. Its level's good, too. 3 is a great level for a non-tuner to have in the deck. Next we got 1 Plika and 1 Windy. Just like always, Windy got a lot better after Link rules, now that recovering things from the extra deck to the hand is actually significant. And normal summoning her isn't too big of a deal, because you don't want her in the extra link zone anyway, for your pendulum summon. You most of the time want that to be Treasure. Put Treasure in the extra deck with Zefrath, and then pendulum summon him in the link zone, and he'll go to the bottom of the deck when he leaves the field when you sync him with Wendy for Stardust Charge or Metaphysaurus. Plika is still at 1. I don't use Plika nearly as much, but she's still the scale 1 for when Zefrath is the lower scale. Level 3 to turn into a tuner with Treasure. So these cards are just as important in the deck as always. Next we got the 2 Teller Knights. These are a generic removal. There's so many times when I've won a game, just because Thubin outed a card that I wouldn't have been able to deal with otherwise. So the fact that I could search these guys is really important. Excited is not as important as Thubin, but he's the biggest beater in the deck, so if I need to beat over a barrier statue or something, Excitan's usually my go-to. And if I'm also really scared of a back row, he can take care of that for me as well. These guys aren't as important as before. The removal is the only reason I'm really running them, because I'm no longer running rank 4s or level 7 synchros, because Links have have made the extra deck room kind of tight. Running the one Gofu that is allowed, and per usual, as soon as the card gets hit, I thought of an amazing combo for it, and I'm not talking about the 4-card combo that I featured in my last combo video. There's going to be a new combo I'm going to upload to the channel shortly using this build of the deck that can make True King of all calamities using only Gofu and one more card. Gofu still makes Deco Talker instantaneously. He's still a great tool to make level 9 synchros with. He's still just as useful as always. And we're running Invoked in the build now. Alistair is the other card, like, that I mentioned in the previously stated Gofu combo. Gofu plus Alistair equals Calamities. That's a combo that I'm going to be putting up on the channel within the next few days. Hopefully, if I'm not lazy or if college does not intervene. That's another reason why Yu-Gi-Oh's been, like, not as much content on the channel lately as it should have, because college has gotten in the way. But yeah, to Alistair, we're running the Invoked build of Zefras for now. It's a very small engine, so I'm able to tech it into the deck without having to dedicate too much room for it. And it just overall works really good. Like, Zefras come in like Wind, Light, and Earth, which are the 3 attributes that you want to fuse with most with Alistair, so that's, like, good. That's a good thing, like, just natural compatibility. We're also running the Spellbook engine, because with Denglong gone, we don't have, like, the tools to get all the pluses that we used to. And since we're running Invoked, the Spellbook engine is a lot more potent in Zefras than it would be with just the Spellbooks. Like, the Invoked makes it more consistent. You all know why. You can just knowledge Alistair. But we're running the 1 blue boy. I think that just 1 is the correct number, because you don't want to, like, play this card more than once. Just want to normal him, get the search, get your +2. A lot of times you don't even want to normal him. You just want to use the knowledge on Alistair, because you'd much rather normal Alistair almost 100% of the time anyway. But yeah, 1 blue boy if you just draw, like, secrets by itself. 1 Max C is the most broken card in the game. I want it to be banned. It should be banned, but it's not banned, so we're running it. We're running triple Ash. Ash is very good. Right now, Ash stops a lot of things. It stops Diagram, it stops Double Helix, it stops Pendulum Call, Ash stops a lot of things. Like, I think Ash is the best hand trap in the game right now. Some argue that it's Ogre. It's not Droll anymore, because, like, the age of max power spirals is behind us now. Ogre does have its uses, but I prefer Ash. It's just, like, a lot of the things that Ogre can stop, Ash can stop as well, such as Diagram and Spiral Resort. So yeah, triple Ash. I want this, like, I kind of want this in my hand, like, every game. So, we're also running triple Gamma and, the 1 driver. This deck can't get interrupted. Like, there are many times where if your Oracle or Providence gets ashed, you just lose. Like, I've won so many games just because I've stopped their hand trap with, like, Gamma. It's very, very important. Like, if this deck gets Droll Unlocked Bird, it just loses. If this deck gets ashed, then it's probably gonna lose. Like, Driver fixes so many problems that this deck has. Like, my deck isn't a deck that people wait to respond to a card activation with Max C. Like, so if I set the scales, then they'll usually drop Max C then, and I can driver it. I can, like I said, I could driver Ogre, or I could driver Ashes if they try to stop my searches. Like, if Zefras gets Ogred, you just lose. And, so you want to, like, Gamma that Ogre, like, big time. Like, you cannot let Zefras get Ogred. Like, I can't stress that enough. You can't let that happen. And that goes double now that Zefras is useless when face up in the extra deck. But fortunately, this deck, unlike a lot of decks, has, no matter what hand trap the opponent has, it has the means to bait it out and make them use it before you put a monster on board, like 90% of the time. And so Driver is, like, a very optimal choice for this deck. Like, really, like, this is like my favorite hand trap in the deck. Like, it lets me play the game, and it stops the opponent. It's good going second too. Like, you know, just dropping it on Quick Fix or on what's Double Helix. I don't know why I couldn't think of it. But anyway, that's it for the monster count. Let's go on to the spells. Triple Providence. This is the best card with Zefra in its name in the deck. Triple Oracle. This is still as important as always. I find, besides the search, I think that the best thing about this card is that it makes Zefra War free. It's like you just kill Oracle like after you've used it, and it's like free Zefra War fodder. I think that's hilarious. It still enables the start as charge play as it always has. Running 2 Terraforming. I was not originally running Terraforming, but now that I'm running multiple field spells, since I'm running Invoked, I'm obviously running Meltdown. But now that Terraforming can function as multiple field spells, I did choose to tech some into my deck. And I never draw these for some reason, but they do work really well. Like just being able to choose if you want that Meltdown or that Oracle. We're running the 2 secrets for the Spellbook engine. I believe 2 is the correct ratio. It lets you search Blue Boy or Knowledge it lets you search Blue Boy if you don't have any an Alistair. It lets you search Knowledge if you do have an Alistair. 2 Knowledge. If you hard draw Knowledge, most of the time it's fine because you run 2 Alistair, some Terraformings to get to Alistair. Like most of the time it's fine. I can see why people would want to run 3 secrets and only 1 knowledge if you're just running the Spellbook engine without Invoked, but I am running Invoked. So I think that 2 knowledge, 2 secrets, 1 blue boy are the correct ratios. Running the 1 invocation, you don't run any more than this. This card is a hard brick. You want to search this card with Alistair. If you draw this in your opening hand, then that's like as bad of a draw as Dracullo was back in the Dino Zoo days. You never want to draw this card ever. It's the most expensive brick I've ever ran in the deck. But yeah, Invocation, never run more than 1. It lets Invoked fuse. 1 Magical Meltdown, I don't want to run any more than this because I'm already running 2 Alistairs. It lets you get to Alistair. It's searchable off Terraforming. That's about all there is to say. By the way, I'm not sure if at the end of the turn you want Meltdown or Oracle in your field zone. Actually, I just lied. You want Oracle in your field zone at the end of the turn 100% of the time. So, yeah. You, Meltdown, you want to play first. And then play Oracle afterwards. Next, we got the 1 allowed set rotation. This card is like a default in the deck now that I'm running multiple field spells in main because it's Zefras, and giving the opponent Oracle of Zefra is like a very crippling thing to some deck, and I can just get the Meltdown and go plus. But because I'm running set rotation, I'm running 1 copy of Necro Valley. This card screws up a lot of decks. Like, if you set rotation and give your opponent, if you're fighting spirals and you set rotation and give yourself Necro Valley and flip it and give the opponent Oracle of Zefra, they're locked out of field spells and graveyard manipulation. Basically, if this deck draws set rotation against spirals, you automatically win. Because with no graveyard manipulation or field spells, spirals can't function at all. This also works really well against Light Sworns. Like, just having this in main deck because I have so much field spell searching, like, is very good to have, like, just against Light Sworns. Even against, like, True Dracos, like, they can't get Diagram and they can't use Masterpiece effects. Like, that's not bad at all. That's really good. Like, there's just way too many decks in the format right now that Necro Valley just obliterates. Like, the only one I can think of that this doesn't work against is Pendulum Magicians, but that's like the worst deck in the meta right now anyway. Well, and yeah, because like I was gonna say and like Trickstars because they don't use graveyard manipulation, but they do. Like they banish Reincarnation and they use field spells. So like yeah, Pendulum Magicians, only deck that's actively played right now that this doesn't work against, but Pendulum Magicians are like the deck's best matchup in the format right now anyway. Next, we got the same trap lineup as always. 1 Divine Strike, 1 9 Pillars, 1 Zephyr War. You never want to draw these. These cards are bricks. you basically there are instances where drawing these can be good. Like if you can pendulum summon secrets, then drawing one of these cards would actually be very, very good, because then it's like you have like this very, very stunny boards, because you can just use secret to search the other one, and then you get Zefra War on the opponent's turn. But yeah, this I have seen some Zefra builds tech in more traps than this. I do not recommend that whatsoever. You do not want to draw traps like most of the time. You most of the time want to get your like engine going. And that's mainly attributing to the fact that this deck can search all of its traps, which is really good considering that they're counter traps. So please, I highly advise you, do not run any more copies of any of these cards. Like, maybe you could put in a second Zefra War if you want, if you're really feeling it, but never put in, like, more than one of each of these. Like, that's the best advice I could give. But that's it for the main deck. It's 44 cards, just like in Dino Zoo format. I had bumped it down to 40, but then, like, considering that I'm running both Invocation and Driver and Necro Valley, I put in the 2 Terraformings, to up the deck number up to 44, just to give it more consistency, draw into those bricks a little less. And so far, I would say it's worked, but I like never draw Terraforming for some reason. I don't know, I just never do. But anyway, let's move on to the extra deck. First we got the Invoked lineup. We're running 1 Caliga. This card is ran exclusively for the Calamities combo. I'll explain it in another video in the near future, but that's the only reason that card is ran. We're running 1 Raijin. This deck runs wind monsters. This deck runs Stardust Charge. A lot of times Stardust Charge gets stuck in the extra deck zone. You fuse it with Alistair, make a Raiden. Deck runs Cloud Castle for the Calamities combo. You can fuse with that. And of course there are the Wind Zefras. So this deck has multiple ways to make Raijin besides just fusing with your opponent's Droll and Lockbirds. We're running 2 copies of Mechaba. I was running 1, but there are times when you need 2 Mechabas. Like, I haven't encountered an extra deck card that I need more than 1 of in Zefras for a long time. But Mechaba's definitely that one. Like, you make the one Mechaba, it dies, you have Alistair in your hand, you need to make the other one to keep the stun going because they used all their resources to get rid of the first one, so you do need 2. And it's sad because I had to take out Tornado Dragon for it. So we're not running rank 4s anymore. But a second Mechaba comes up a lot more than a single Tornado Dragon would. And another thing I want to address while we're here is why I'm not running the Earth Invoked guy. It's because it's just a big beater, and this is not pre-link format. I'm not wasting an extra link zone on a 3k beater. Like, no thank you. I better be in like a really awkward situation if like I need that 3k beater, and like fusing for Mechaba like can't do that job. Like that'd be real. I've never encountered that situation once. So yeah, we're not running the Earth guy. That's it for the fusions. We don't run any of the other ones for obvious reasons. Next, we're going into the Synchros, Stardust Charge. This card is just as good as it's always been. Search any monster in the game. I find myself searching Alistair a lot. I find myself searching Max C a lot. Those are the 2 main cards. Maybe Blue Boy if I just want Pot of Greed. Metaphysaurus, this is my favorite card in the deck. This has been the card that stayed in the deck since I first started playing it like 2 years ago. I love Metaphysaurus a lot. Next we got Omega. I am running Omega, obviously because I'm running Psyframe Driver. And like, if they try to use a hand trap and you like chain that Gamma and then you make Omega take another card out of their hand, they're in a really terrible position. So if they try to hand trap you and you have Gamma, that's like, you're gonna be in a godlike position. And I want to address right now that I am not running Yazi. Level 7 Synchros don't come up like anymore, like ever. I haven't like wanted to make a level 7 Synchro in a very long time. The only way that I ever want to make a level 7 Synchro is if I literally have no other play. And like, and if you are building the deck around like putting in cards that are just there in case you have no other play, then your deck probably needs some more consistency. And I have improved the deck's consistency, so I no longer need to run cards like Yazi. Next we're running Cloudcast. Cloud Castle is for the Calamities combo. The Calamities combo has two routes now, the Invoked route and the Pendulum route. I do the Invoked route most often because it uses the fewer resources. But even when you're not doing that, Cloud Castle has come into effect like turn 3 or 4 in a lot of cases. Like this thing, like if I make Vermilion Dragon Mech, which I'm about to talk about, turn 1 or something and it dies, then I can make this turn 3 and resurrect it and make Calamities there on the spot. And another thing that I don't think most people realize, and the same can happen with Chao Feng, by the way. If I make Chao Feng as a stunny card and it dies, then I can make Cloud Castle later, resurrect it, and get me a free Calamities. But a cool play that I don't think people realized is that this can bring back Mechaba, which is spicy as heck. It's like if you fuse for Mechaba and it dies, you can sink into Cloud Castle and get that Mechaba back, and then you can make Calamities. Or you could just keep the Mechaba, like, if you want to keep the Mechaba. Like, I think that's a real spicy play that this deck can do. Like, I love Cloud Castle. I wanted to run it back in scraps in the day, but those days are long behind me. Next we got Vermilion Dragon Mech. This card offers good removal. I usually make it just for the Calamities combo, but it's just like the only offensive level 9 synchro in the deck, so it does come up. Like if I have Treasure and Secret, it's like I can get rid of problem cards very easily. It's a really good card to have access to. I've made it for offensive purposes multiple times, in addition to just the Calamities combo. Next we got Chao Feng. This card's amazing. If you make this card, it's kind of an auto win against Spirals. And any other Earth decks that you may come across. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. Unfortunately, it's not auto-win against Trickstars because we don't have Denglong anymore, so we can't lock off light effects, which is kind of a shame, but saying your opponent has no Earth effects is still really strong, and when it dies, you get to search like a Hand Trap, Gamma, Ash, or you could search your one copy of Gofu if they have no other resources and had to use all of them to kill Chao Feng, and set yourself up for plays on the next turn. Next we got Nirvana. Keeping this card in over Tornado Dragon was a tough choice, but I find myself making this card. I never find myself making Tornado Dragon. But Nirvana, yeah, you get back a counter trap. If you can make this card, then you're basically going to be you're going to be flourishing in resources after you make this card. It's obviously a late game card only, but you get your counter traps back, and then like you're going to like burn your opponent for like half their life on top of having this big beater, and if one of your scales dies, then it can like replace it. Like, this card is just so useful. Like, just the recycling counter trap part alone is just ridiculous. Or hand traps, like whichever you need. That's it for the synchros. We're only running a couple XEs. We're running the one M7. M7 has been in this deck forever. M7 has been in Zefras. It's probably the only other card in the extra deck that's been in here since day one. You make M7 with Stardust Charge, Metaphys Horus Secrets, the same thing you've always made it with. You can use this as either like offensively to remove your opponent's threats, or defensively to recycle your hand traps, or even your combo pieces and resources if you need to. This card's universally good, make it all the time. Calamities. Calamities is a godlike card, so much so that I'm running 4 or 5 cards in my extra deck just to make it, which is kind of crazy, but this is one of the best offensive push cards that Zefras have access to, and I've had to really like think about how to incorporate this, because Lynx doesn't make it easy for Zefras to do anything these days. But Calamities is like the best offensive threat that you can make turn 1 in order to provide yourself both some stun power and some offensive pushing, because like you got a 3k beater and they have no monster effects. What are they gonna do? Next, the Lynx, just proxy dragon for when you draw Gofu and want to make Decode Talker and Decode Talker. You can make Decode Talker without Gofu, and I've done it, but it doesn't come up often. But you better believe it does come up. Like, and like when you make Decode, basically like these links are only ran because we don't have access to the other links. Like once the generic links come out, and once both Electrum and the Crystron link comes out, and not even those, like that link 2 that has no effect and just like has arrows like in these directions, and that link 3 that does like all 3 down arrows, like those are going to replace these like entirely. Like these are just ran because there's no better options right now. But that's the extra deck. Let's move on to the side deck real quick, hopefully before my phone dies. We're running 2 Ogre. Ogre is a universally good hand trap. I like Ogre. A lot of people like Ogre. I like the artwork too. I love the Ghost Girls. And speaking of which, we're running Triple Reaper. Your targets are going to be these, Buster Dragon and Double Helix, only because like it's auto win against these decks. It didn't used to be auto win against Spirals, but now that the deck is nerfed, it kind of is. So, yeah, cherries and its targets like really hard hitter. You're also running Invoked, so if you run across the Rogue Invoked, then you can F them up really badly too. Next we're running the 2 Gamma Seals. These are mainly for True Dracos. Or, yeah, deal with that Masterpiece, all that. Oh my god, my phone died. I'm having so much trouble this video. But anyway, Gamma Seal is to deal with Masterpiece. It also helps against that ABC Buster Dragon, Spiral Sleeper, even though you don't really side this against Spirals. Kaiju's are just overall good cards to have for those decks that focus on just sitting on a stunny boss monster, or like a boss monster that's just hard to kill. Just a universally good card to have, mainly for True Dracos though. I already talked about the cherry targets. Next we're running Dark Hole Raigeki. Board Wipe's got a lot better now that Spiral's boards aren't nearly as hard to make. Like, they still make Sleeper invulnerable to this, which is a real pain. But like, this card, like, Board Wipes, just good cards in general. Side these for a number of matchups. Just good going second cards. Next we're running Triple Cosmic Cyclone because back row is scary. This is a good choice against True Dracos. It's a good choice against Pendulum Magicians, stops their plays. Even going first, it's a good choice against Spirals, because it works as a sort of Ash Blossom to stop their resorts, which is mainly their like only way of continuing to play the game, now that they like very rarely hard draw their good cards anymore, now that both of them are at 1. Cyclone is just all around good, and on top of that, it protects you from cards like Anti-Spell that just make Zefras unable to play. Stuff like Unending Nightmare, things like that. And yeah, both offensively and defensively, Cyclone can be utilized. You side this going first and second in a lot of matchups, and for these reasons, I am keeping this card's number 3. These were actually magic deflectors for a short time, because like against Spirals, like stopping Big Red and like Resort at the same time, and just like completely turning off True Draco's turn was a very powerful play. But I think that Cyclone has a lot more utilization that can be had with it in stopping the Pendulum Magician matchup and protecting you from Floodgates. And it was for this dual functionality that I'm including it over the magic deflectors. And finally, we got Imperial Order. I don't like this card. Like, if you flip Order in Zefras and they get over your board, then you just lose. But the chance is that, like, how often is a deck going to deal with, like, a Calamities, or a Mechaba, or, like, a Chow Fang, like, if they don't have access to spells? Like, that's most decks searching. Like, Order should have stayed banned, if you ask me. Just this non-searchable 1-of Floodgate that just automatically wins you the game reminds you a lot of Max C, don't you think? Now, but anyway, Order, real good card. That is the deck. Final thoughts. I don't really have any final thoughts on the deck. Like, I already talked about the magic deflectors. I already talked about Tornado Dragon, why he's not here. He is the rank 4 of choice, I would say, if I were to run one. I talked about why I'm not running Yazi or any other level 7 synchros. And I talked about why the deck stands at 44 cards as it does now. These are all the main points that I wanted to hit. Thank you all for watching. This is going to be the Zefra build that I'm running either until the next ban list or until we get the Link Vrains pack. You can expect that combo of making Calamities with Gofu plus Alistair in the next few days. But until then, thank you all for watching. Tell me what you think of in the comments. Tell me your tech choices for Zefras 4-link format, for no Denglong format. Life is rough, but we're gonna make it there. We're gonna get our combos back once we get those Metal Foes and Crystron Link monsters. I promise you, I'm already working on them. But until then, for now, this is Razzle48 saying goodbye, and I will see you next time.